Boys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be ranking the top, I think we have 65 most iconic Star Wars scenes of all time. That's right, we got a whole tier list right here. Today we're going to be ranking all of them, and we're kicking it off with none other than the Darth Vader hallway scene from Rogue One. Now boys, I speak for all of us, every single Star Wars fan, sequel lover, prequel lover, original lover, which is everyone, when I say this is an S tier scene. Ain't nobody in the theater sad when Darth Vader ignited that lightsaber and just mowed the rebels down in that hallway. Everyone was like, yeah! I mean, we're all on the rebels side, I hope. And we were still like, you show them, Vader! You show them who's boss! Like, that was just an awesome scene overall. I think we can all agree on that. And then we're contrasting that with probably one of the worst scenes in the entire Star Wars saga. Yeah, that's right. It's none other than Luke Skywalker and the green alien milk. Just alien milk, right? Just process that. Luke Skywalker drinking green alien milk on an island where he abandoned his friends and family and is waiting to die hopelessly. I mean, come on. Easy F tier. I've never seen an easier F tier in my entire life. It's like cheese and mayonnaise. It's not like cheese and mayonnaise at all. That's the worst analogy I could have possibly given. Anyway, next up is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's over, Anakin. I have the high ground. This scene, here's the thing. I think this is an S tier scene. This duel is definitely S tier. In fact, I see this duel right here. This duel is going right here. It's like a 10-minute duel when you put it all together total. That is a freaking awesome scene. Everybody loves that scene. Easy S tier. I think this particular moment right here would be A tier if it was just I have the high ground, but I'm fairly certain it's supposed to represent the entire whole you were my brother, Anakin, I loved you scene. So because of that, it's going S tier. And then, man, this tier list is just giving us the best contrast in the world, because right underneath that we have Snoke's throne room. No, just hang on, got a donut right here because it's close to Valentine's Day, so I got my pink and white frosted sprinkled donut. Cheers. I think this scene right here, it's a little better than C tier because it looks cool in terms of like the cinematography. But the actual duel itself is horrific. I mean, the disappearing dagger, the random guys flying off into the sunset, the guy getting blended up in that random rotator thing. It was all so stupid. I've had math equations that I've learned in school be more memorable than this scene right here. I mean, that's how boring it is on a fundamental scale in the long term. Anyway, next up we have the Anakin choking Padme scene, which, man, they're giving us a lot of Revenge of the Sith duels right off the bat. I mean, we got the duel, we got the it's over Anakin, and then we have the choking scene. I think this is a B tier scene. I think it's good. I don't think it's great, because I think what follows is great, but this fundamental, like, Anakin and Padme relationship is not too phenomenal in terms of everything coming together. You know what I mean? I just think that the scene itself is kind of B tier, and then it leads into a bunch of S tier stuff. That's how I would describe it. Next up, we have the Reylo moment, where they finally embrace and kiss each other in the arms. Yeah, that's a C tier scene if I ever saw one. It was nice because it brought some finality to these characters, and believe me, they needed some finality. The whole trilogy was basically them just being wishy-washy and flip-flopping one way or the next, and wherever the wind blows in that day. Next up is the Battle of Hoth from Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. I think this is the first original scene we have, yeah. First original scene in the tier list. And boys, that is an A tier scene if I ever saw one. It's not the best opening scene. That is Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith has the greatest opening scene in Star Wars, but it definitely has one of the better ones. It's definitely up there. The Sarlacc pit. Sarlacc pit, I think, personally, in my humble opinion, that is also an A tier scene. The whole sequence, I'm assuming this isn't just like, you know, Luke Skywalker doing the hand board thing where he jumps over and grabs the board, or Boba Fett dying. That whole scene is A tier. You know, it doesn't make a lot of sense if you actually look at it in terms of what their plan was. Luke kind of went in there, guns blazing, and was like, all right, boys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to save everyone and get the flip out of there. That was essentially his plan if you really think about it on any reasonable scale. But it was a really fun scene, very, very memorable, and it really did help illustrate how much Luke had grown since The Empire Strikes Back. Plus, we got Luke's green lightsaber, and no one's going to complain about Luke's green lightsaber. I mean, that thing shaped the lightsaber colors in Star Wars as we know it. If it wasn't for that scene, there'd probably still be blue and red lightsabers in Star Wars exclusively. The X-Wing run on the Death Star. Now, I gotta be honest, boys. I think you might not be too happy with me about this one, but this one, personally for me, is going easy B tier. And here's why. I think a lot of sequel haters will cope and say, oh no, this isn't a Mary Sue moment for Luke. Luke blowing up the Death Star makes perfect sense. I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's great for Luke's character, it's great for his development, but in terms of hopping in the X-Wing for the first time and going and hitting a one and done shot in the Death Star and destroying the entire thing, again, his first time in an X-Wing, doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I know the lore reasons, I know that he flew around to T-16 on Tatooine shooting womp rats, but that doesn't really, I feel like that's not the same. I feel like it's just a bad way to translate his skill over, if that makes sense. It still makes more sense than Rey, by the way. This makes a lot more sense than Rey doing all the stuff she did. But I think it's only a B tier scene. It was a good finale for the movie though, so I gotta give it props for that. Plus when Han Solo came back, everyone was happy when Han Solo came back. That was a pretty awesome moment. Next up is Darth Vader choking this random guy. I can't remember his name, but basically this is what my mom threatened to do to me if I didn't get started on my college work today. But I was like, Mom, you don't understand. I got a tier list video to film. I gotta write these Star Wars scenes. You clearly don't understand that grind. You don't understand that I'm on that hustle. And she was like, all right, well, just be warned. I'm gonna pull this Darth Vader stunt on you if you don't freaking get started on this. And I was like, all right, well, I will. And then she left the room, and I immediately started filming this tier list video, so. W Sun Woman. Jedward W's in the chat. Let's go, boys. When I say chat, I mean comments. W Jedward's in the comments. Thank you very much. Anyway, this scene is, I would say, also a pretty easy A tier. It's a good display of Darth Vader's power right off the bat. Because, you know, he's intimidating in the opening scene of A New Hope when he chokes Antilles by the throat. But this is the first time we see, oh, this guy, you know, he looks scary, but he can also back that up. I mean, he's got powers. Next up is the Rancor. And this scene, I think, is also a pretty solid B tier. I'm not going to put it A, just because I think it's a little bit predictable. I mean, Luke goes in, he kills the Rancor, he uses the skull, he throws the rock, he crushes it. It's all very formulaic is what I'm trying to say. It falls into place pretty easily. All right, next up, boys, we have, I'm a little confused. I gotta be Anne Frank. I'm a little confused right now because this looks like the Death Star blowing up to a civilized person, which I am. It looks like the Death Star going kablooey. And then right up here, we have the Death Star run, which I kind of feel like is kind of one scene. Like they kind of interlace with one another. So I'm not sure why they're giving me two, unless this is the Return of the Jedi scene. I'm just gonna assume that it is because I've already ranked the Death Star scene. This one was worse than the first one. This one, I would also put a B tier because it doesn't deserve C. But at the same time, I think that it's worse than this one. Let it just be known. Episode 4 did it better. This one just felt a little tired, you know what I mean? It felt like a reoccurring trope that they didn't really need to do, but they did anyway. And tied into Return of the Jedi is the throne room from episode 6, where Vader kills Palpatine. This is an S tier moment. This is when Vader really comes back to the light. He brings balance to the Force. He sees the Emperor killing his son, and he says, no, I've had enough. And Anakin Skywalker comes back, he hoists him over his head like some titan of old, and tosses him down the reactor. And everyone in the audience is like, yeah, show him, buddy! You show him, save your son! And it's sick, and it's awesome, it's really cool. The end of Empire Strikes Back. Now, I gotta be honest, this isn't a very memorable scene. It's a good conclusion, I suppose, but like, that's all I can say about it. It's kind of uncertain. Is Han gonna come back next episode? We don't know, and neither did Harrison Ford at the time, which is why they ended with the carbonite. So I'm gonna throw this bad boy, honestly, I'd probably throw it B tier. It's a good conclusion to the episode, but it's nothing special. It's nothing too great. The end of Attack of the Clones. Now, boys, I gotta level with you. This is an A tier finale scene. This scene is really freaking cool. It sets up the whole Clone Wars, and at the end, you get Palpatine smiling over it all. Smiling maliciously, like some Simpsons Mr. Burns kind of reference. Like, one thing I will say, CGI could have been a little bit better, but they did the best they could with what they had. The whole movie, you could say the CGI could be better, so I'm not gonna hold that against them. A tier, I'd say. Good finale scene. That every now and then. Are you watching Revenge of the Sith?
Yeah, Yoda knows Chewbacca. They're buddies.
You didn't know that?
Friends.
That's a plot point.
No, I knew it, but I'm watching it with your sister.
Yeah.
And stupid Yoda is like, Chewbacca, I'll miss you. I'll never forget you. Like, yeah, well, Chewbacca's gonna forget you because Luke goes to hang out with him and he doesn't even tell you, like, hey, I know the guy. He's green.
Yeah, that's a kind of a plot point. People weren't too happy with that. You're not the only one who didn't like that.
No, it just makes him mad.
Yeah, by the way, come here, Dad, come here. Just come here for a sec. Just come here for a sec. So, boys, when I hit 100,000 subscribers, Jedwerd here is gonna shave my head live on stream. This luscious... Alright, you don't have to embarrass me in front of thousands, Pop. These luscious locks will be gone before your eyes, right on this floor right here. So hit that subscribe button.
Whoa, I don't want to clean that up, though.
I'll put a blanket down. Alright, good night, Pop. Some guy got mad at me for not saying love you once, so love you. Yeah, see? See? I'm a good...
But why wouldn't Chewbacca just tell you? It doesn't make any sense.
Mandatory Jedwerd cameo. You gotta love it. But anyway, this hello there scene from Obi-Wan Kenobi. Boys, on its own, it's a kind of an okay scene. It's alright. I mean, it's alright. Like, overrated is, in my opinion, it's not overrated. Because of the meme, this scene, S tier. Look, boys, I'm a big fan of Star Wars memes. I did a whole video reacting to the best Star Wars memes, which you need to watch, by the way. It did not perform that well, and I really like the video. So go check that out after you finish this video. I'll link it in the comments below. Alright, next up is one of my least favorite deaths in Star Wars, and that is Kylo Ren killing Han Solo. This is an F tier for me. I hate this. If you watched my last video, where I ranked every Star Wars death from worst to best on a similar tier list, Han Solo's death, F tier death, and F tier scene. They had his own son kill him for very, very little reason. It didn't make a lot of sense, and it really pissed me off. It was mostly because Harrison Ford just wanted to die. I understand that, but he's wanted to die since Empire. I mean, like, it's not really fair to consider what Harrison Ford wants. He hates Star Wars. It's not even a fair comparison, so. Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan Kenobi from Episode 4 A New Hope. Now, in my Star Wars duels tier list, this scene is really cool. This scene, I think, is like an S tier scene in terms of character development, but the duel itself is awful. The duel itself is really primitive. I mean, it was 1976 when they filmed it. Of course it was primitive, but it does drag it down a little bit. I'm gonna have to put it B tier. No, I'll put it A tier because it was so crucial to the plot. I'm gonna put it A tier. I think it's a pretty solid place to put it. Order 66. This, boys, is an S tier scene. There's a YouTuber I like named The Closer Look who makes a lot of videos, some of them about Star Wars, but a lot of them about sci-fi in general. I think you guys would probably really like him. He did a video explaining why Order 66 is one of the best scenes in Star Wars, and it was great. Great video, and I completely agree. This scene is an S tier scene. It is one of the saddest scenes in Star Wars, and it really shows the downfall of the Jedi and the rise of the Empire. And in a similar vein to that, we have Mace Windu, Agent Kolar, Stacey Chin, who you can't see but is right here. See, I know my stepboys. I'm a Star Wars nerd like you guys. And Kit Fisto, all in this scene, and they're all going to go and face down Darth Sidious. Now, this scene is a good duel. Mace Windu and Sidious have a good duel, but it pisses me off for one reason and one reason only. These three Jedi masters of their craft, the best in the galaxy when it comes to fighting Sith and fighting people as a whole. They've been generals in a war for like 10 years at this point. They're old veterans. Sidious goes, ah, and hits them with the, let me try to recreate it. I'm gonna fail miserably, but he hits them with the, if you guys are looking at my gap right now, you can just say it, but I do keep a lightsaber behind Claude at all times in case one of you guys, no, Claude! I do keep a lightsaber behind Claude at all times in case some mad fan bursts into my room and tries to fight me, and I need to show him he's boss. Unfortunately, it's wildly broken because NeoPixel Saber is a pretty garbage company for buying lightsabers. Regardless, Darth Sidious hits him with the old, spin. And the Jedi are like, oh, we didn't see that one coming, and go, bzzz, and it freaking pisses me off to no extent. I really don't like that. Anyway, please land on my bed. It did land on my bed. Okay, anyway, this scene, I'm gonna put it solid B tier just because it drags it down that they lost so easily. I feel like the guy who made this tier list didn't actually watch the movies because he would know that this isn't a real scene. This was only in the Force Awakens teaser trailer. However, I do freaking love Kylo Ren's lightsaber, so I'm gonna put it B tier. I think Kylo Ren's lightsaber is sick. I think it's one of the better parts of the sequels. And speaking of lightsabers, that brings me to the sponsor of today's video, Own a Saber. And listen to this deal, boys. It's a really good one, I promise. Own a Saber is offering a buy one, get one free deal for the Padawan lightsaber. Basically, if you buy a Padawan lightsaber in their store and add a second Padawan lightsaber to your cart and go check out, one of them will be completely free. As long as they're identical, it will be 100% free. It's a steal. I can't believe they're doing this. It's awesome. And then on top of that, as if a good thing couldn't get better, am I right? If you want a replica lightsaber, for example, Kylo Ren's or Obi-Wan Kenobi's, you can also get a free Padawan lightsaber with the purchase of one of those. Just go, get the replica lightsaber you want, Kylo Ren's for example, add a Padawan lightsaber to the cart, go and check out, and the Padawan lightsaber will automatically be made free. Just 100% free. All you gotta do is click the link in the description of the video and go check it out. I promise you, it's a steal, it's a bargain, you're not gonna find a better offer than this. Thanks again to Own a Saber for sponsoring this video, and now back to the tier list. Next up is the I Love You, I Know scene from Empire Strikes Back on Cloud City. This is a pretty cool scene. It's a total plot twist on the I Love You too scenes that we usually see in Hollywood. Such a Han Solo response, S tier scene. And contrasted with that S tier scene, we have an F tier scene, which is Superman and Princess Leia flying through space like she has a jetpack on. It's like Homer Simpson. She's like Homer Simpson seeing a donut. She's like, donut, oh. And she chases the donut back to the ship and then collapses, but they still... F tier scene. Not a contest. I just completely lost my train of thought because I'm so pissed off. Thinking about this scene makes me mad. F tier. Next up is Luke facing his fears on Dagobah, and this is an A tier scene easily. I think it's close to S, but it's just not, it's impactful, but it's not memorable enough, I don't think. I think it probably was if you watched it back then, but in all of Star Wars, it's not the most memorable scene. Han Solo versus Greedo. Now this is like a B tier scene. It's good for the plot because it shows that Han Solo was in debt to Jabba the Hutt, but it does make Greedo look like a total idiot because if you're a bounty hunter and your target gets to jump on you by playing with the wall and then grabbing a blaster and going, I thought I had a blaster, but I have to go with the old toy gun fingers and going, if he gets to jump on you by doing that, then you've done something wrong already. You're a mid-bounty hunter. Next up, Luke eyeing your father, S tier scene, enough said. Everyone knows that this scene is legendary, redefined cinema, one of the most epic moments in Star Wars, and in cinema as a whole. Legendary scene. Next up is It's a Trap, Admiral Akbar. This meme, I've always thought is less funny than most of the memes, but it is an original trilogy meme, which makes it a little more valuable. There's less of those. So I'm gonna put this one solid B tier. Yoda lifting the X-Wing out of the swamp. This is an S tier scene. All the Yoda scenes on Dagobah are really freaking good. Everyone loves those scenes. They're awesome. They show Yoda as this wise old mentor and at the same time show how powerful he is. And at the same time, he doesn't take himself too seriously. He's making jokes. He's eating Luke's food. He has the best duel in Star Wars with R2-D2, of course. It's Yoda and his stick versus R2-D2. Legendary. Who doesn't love that? S tier. And speaking of S tier, we have this legendary scene. Luke Skywalker facing the two suns with John Williams swelling in your ear. It's beautiful. It brings goosebumps to my arms every single time I see it. I go, oh, Luke Skywalker and John Williams. Oh, and it's freaking awesome. It's cool. All right, next up is this one. This is Rey and Finn getting the Millennium Falcon. I'm putting this one A tier. I'll put it B tier because yes, I love seeing the Millennium Falcon again. It's so nice. It's so nostalgic. And this part of the movie so far, it's not shown that Rey is such a bad character yet. She's just kind of a normal person. Right now, we're just seeing the Millennium Falcon, and it's about to get really nice for a couple seconds, boys. I think this is a B tier scene. I think that a lot of us are often blinded by our hate for the sequels, and we cannot acknowledge good things within them. It was nice seeing the Millennium Falcon again. I can be real with that. Next up is this scene right here. Again, this guy's picking the most random scenes in the movies. He's like, all right, we can have Obi-Wan versus Anakin on Mustafar, and then we'll have I Don't Like Sand by Anakin and Padme on Naboo, which, by the way, S tier scene. Freaking awesome meme. Hilarious. I freaking love it. Terrible writing though. George Lucas, you probably should have hired a writer for that. But anyway, I think this scene is pretty easily, I don't know, it's kind of a random scene. Like, it's fine, I guess, but it's nothing special. I'm gonna put it C tier. It's not even that memorable. I mean, it's cool, and there's a little incestual when Leia kisses Luke and says, "For luck." It's a lot of incest in the originals. Not that much, but comparatively to like real life, there's a whole lot of incest. Anyway, C tier. Vader versus Luke, S tier duel. Phenomenal duel, freaking awesome. Everyone loves that duel, and it really did redefine cinema in terms of what they could achieve with choreography. And the effects are awesome. I love how they walk from different environments throughout the duel. That's really freaking cool to me. Great scene, great scene. Next up is the Force Ghost scene from the end of Return of the Jedi. Solid A tier scene because it's nothing special. It's just bringing a sense of finality to the whole movie so far. It's wrapping it all up, tying off all the loose ends. But it is nice to see Hayden Christensen again. I know people are mad that they didn't leave the original actor for Vader. I don't know who it was. But I like seeing Hayden Christensen. I think it makes sense. And I like Hayden Christensen. So I'm going to put it A tier. Good scene. Pretty good scene. Yoda versus Count Dooku. Now this, look, first time Count Dooku is on this list as far as I believe. Yeah, Count Dooku is not on this list so far. And when I see Count Dooku, my instinct is S tier. However, I'm going to fight that instinct, boys. I'm going to fight that instinct and do the unthinkable. Put him at only A tier. I know. I'm a heathen. The reason I'm putting him at A tier is because this duel is really good, but comparatively to a lot of the stuff on this list, it's not as good. All right, next up we have, it's Do It. Okay, so I think this guy's just a memer. This guy's throwing in all the prequel memes from the scenes. Do It isn't all, I think Do It's kind of a mid meme. I gotta be honest. I think it's not that funny. It's nowhere near as good as the I Hate Sand or Hello There. I think it's a little lower on that spectrum. I think it's funny the way he says it, but I'm gonna put it B tier. Sidious versus Yoda. Now this is an S tier scene. I like Sidious versus Yoda. I think it's really freaking cool. Great choreography. Yoda looks great. Sidious looks great. And the Senate looks really good. CGI is awesome. And the duel itself is really well done, I think. And speaking of S tier duels, we have Rey versus Sidious in The Rise of Skywalker. Oh boy. Goody two shoes Batman. Yeah. This is F tier. No, it's C tier. And here's why. The duel itself sucks. Palpatine sucks. But my favorite scene in The Rise of Skywalker is hearing the voices of the Jedi in Rey's head. The sequels did so much to avoid referencing the old movies, the originals and the prequels, that it was nice to hear them acknowledge that, you know, Luminara Unduli, Ahsoka Tano, Anakin Skywalker, Luke Skywalker, these people existed. These are real Jedi in this universe, and they're speaking to Rey. I like that. I'm a simple guy. I like hearing Kanan Jarrus' voice in her head in the end of Rise of Skywalker. C tier duel for that, because everything else sucked. Everything else sucked. I mean, I'm just gonna say it how it is. Next up is Kylo Ren versus these guards. I gotta be honest, this kind of pissed me off watching it because, first of all, the whole force transportation thing where she puts her lightsaber behind her back and it's gone and he has it. Not really sure how that works. Oh, it's a force dyad. Yeah, just run that by me again. Like, what the frick is that? I don't really understand. So I'm gonna put this one, I think I'll put this one B tier. No, I'll put it C tier too. Because what also pisses me off is that Kylo Ren flies back. If you guys remember, he jumps back and flies like 30 feet over his head and lands behind the guy and stabs him in the most obvious wire stun ever, and that pisses me off because, come on, guys, you had like $100 million budget. You could have just, like, you know, not done that or made it look better. Or so, there was C tier scene. That brings it down for me. And speaking of C tier scenes, we have an F tier scene, and that is Rey versus Kylo Ren. Again, this is just a poster for the movie. This isn't actually the duel, but I assume they mean Rey versus Kylo Ren at the end of Rise of Skywalker. I'm putting this F tier. I hate this duel. It looks barbaric. It looks awful. They think they have baseball bats. They're like, ugh. And then don't even get me started on the whole, oh, he's swinging the lightsaber. I hate stopping the lightsaber with the force. Such a lazy concept to me. You guys have like a $100 million budget. Make it look cool. Pretty easy F tier for me. Canto Bite. No, this is not Canto Bite. Thank goodness. This is the original Cantina scene from A New Hope. And this is an A tier scene, I think. No, I can't put... This is a B tier scene. It's cool because it's the first time we see a lightsaber in action, you know, when he cuts off the guy's arm, so I like that. But at the same time, you know, it's nothing too memorable. Some fun stuff happens, but in the grand scheme of the movie, it's just nothing phenomenal. Honestly, and this might get a little controversial, boys. Next up, we have Han Solo and Kylo Ren. I might surprise you a little bit. I think this is an A tier scene. I really enjoy the sense of finality it brings to Han Solo, because Force Awakens butchered my boy. Han Solo dies with very, very little closure. And he comes back in this, and he does his old Han Solo thing. I know, kid. I think it's a very good ending for Han Solo, and it brings a sense of finality to the character that it didn't really have in, Force Awakens. Next up is Babu Freak, and I honestly cannot believe I remember his name. I really can't. But Babu Freak is an F tier scene, because, if you don't remember, the whole concept is preposterous. See, basically, they have the Sith dagger, right? The Sith Wayfinder. And C-3PO can't read it. Or sorry, he can read it, he can't translate it. Or sorry, he can translate it, he can't read it out loud. Because, if you didn't know, back when Anakin Skywalker made C-3PO, I don't know, 50 years ago, he made sure he was like, alright, I made this epic droid out of spare parts, but I gotta make sure he's in accordance with Republic laws. I gotta make sure he's in accordance with the Republic laws, and he can't read this ancient Sith language. No, actually, he can read it, but he can't translate it and say it out loud. And this assumes that even if all that's true, even if C-3PO was in accordance with Republic laws and guidelines at that time, why couldn't he just fly the ship? Why can't he just get in the Millennium Falcon and say, go left, go right? It makes no sense. Complete preposterous situation. Preposterous situation, if I do say so myself. Hopefully I don't wake my family up, but yeesh. Anyway, next, Finn versus Captain Phasma. Now, I gotta be honest, boys. This duel, it's not bad. I mean, it's a pretty average duel. But they thought it was gonna be so much cooler than it was. They were like, alright, here's the plan, boys. This is the Disney exec's office. How about this, boys? Now, hear me out. You know Captain Phasma? Yeah, that one-off character that we had get held at gunpoint in The Force Awakens. Yeah, what if we turn her into a big villain for Finn? I know what you're gonna say. Finn isn't a main character anymore. We ruined Finn. Boys, let's bring him back. Let's change him. Flip him around. Change the script. Do a thing or two. Let's have him fight Phasma. Would that be a good idea? Who's with me? Who's with me? And then the room erupted in applause and cheers, and everyone threw their hats. It was like, yeah, donuts for everybody. And then they did the duel, and it kind of sucked. So I'm putting this one, I gotta be honest, boys, this is a solid C tier for me. I was not a big fan. I don't know why I put my headphones on. I've not listened to one thing this entire video. It's going off. Coming up next is Luke Skywalker versus Kylo Ren. The duel on Crate. I think it's F tier. I really do. I did not like Luke Skywalker force projecting himself across the galaxy to have some kind of phantom duel with Kylo Ren. I thought it was a bad plot twist, and I would have much rather preferred to see Luke Skywalker go in person and meet Kylo Ren. I thought it was kind of preposterous that he would die sitting on a rock and force projecting from across the galaxy. I thought it was kind of stupid. So F tier, F tier. Speaking of F tier, we have the creation of Darth Vader, because everyone knows that scene sucked. I'm kidding. Do not leave the video yet. That scene is S tier. It's really cool to see how Darth Vader came together, how Sidious twisted it and manipulated it in his way. And speaking of Darth Vader and S tier scenes, we have Luke saving his father, taking the helmet off. Let me look upon my son with my true eyes for one last time. S tier scene. And speaking of Luke Skywalker and endings, we have Luke Skywalker facing down the entire First Order with nothing but a laser sword. Don't unsubscribe from me saying laser sword. That's a line from the movie. I know it's a lightsaber. This scene is like C tier. It's a little bit better because at first you're like, oh dang, Luke Skywalker survived that without a scratch, and he even did the little this. That's kind of sick. But I want to see Luke Skywalker there in person. I want to see him confront his mistakes and his failures, and I want to see him overcome them and have some redemption. In person. That's what I want. So the Wampa. Everyone loves the Wampa. The Wampa is an easy, I think it's an A tier scene, because it shows that Luke has progressed since the last movie, but not by much. He got the lightsaber out of the snow with the Force, but it took him like 3 tries. And the Wampa's coming at him, and he goes out into the snowstorm. I think the whole scene's kind of an A tier scene. That's what I'd say. Rey and BB-8 in the final shot of the Rise of Skywalker is an F tier scene, because this is basically the Rey Skywalker scene, which I don't like. I don't think Rey's a Skywalker. I think Rey's a Palpatine. The Skywalker legacy is Skywalker. That's you cannot just claim, you cannot buy your way into that. I don't care who she thinks she is. She's a Palpatine. All right, next up, man, this guy's just freaking evil for putting this in. The Master Skywalker. There are too many of them. What are we going to do? That's just evil. I mean, I think it's an A tier scene because it shows how far Anakin's fallen. But like, come on, bro. Kind of a callback. But do you guys remember when I said that I was happy the Mos Eisley Cantina scene wasn't in fact Canto Bite? Well, looks like Canto Bite's back on the menu, boys, because right here, we got this wonderful scene, this gambling empire that shows the evils of capitalism. Boys, I like money, personally. call me crazy, but I like money. Anyway, that's no political statement. I just enjoy money. That's a fact. And I'm sure most of you guys do too. This scene is like an F tier. Total waste of time. Goes nowhere. Does nothing. So I freaking hate that scene. Next up is the opening scene of Revenge of the Sith. And yes, boys, as you might have heard Jedwerd say earlier, my sister and him were watching Revenge of the Sith, and I was making this video, so I wasn't, unfortunately. I mean, the things I do for you guys, I skip out on one of the best Star Wars movies to make you guys' videos. Subscribe. I deserve it, obviously, because I'm the best at everything I do. I need a little bit of donut. Let me just, I'm the kind of guy to wiggle my fingers over a box of donuts and say, don't mind if I do. I'm just letting you guys know that right now. Anyway, as I was saying, this scene is an easy S tier. The best opening scene in all Star Wars. I rest my case. That's my belief. Next up is the opening scene of A New Hope. And this scene is also an S tier scene. I think it's the second or third best opening scene in Star Wars. This and the Phantom Menace opening scene. But this is such a good way to start a movie. This shot right here in particular, with the Tantive 4 going over and the Star Destroyer looming over even bigger, that is an awesome shot. I really like it. So that's easy S tier for me. And speaking of easy S tier, we have easy C tier. Because, look, I love Luke Skywalker. I was really sad what the sequels did to him. We had such a good chance for cool stuff, and it just didn't happen. And then Luke Skywalker goes and dies on a rock, Phantom projecting himself across the galaxy because he was too much of a chicken to go there himself. Made me sad. It really did make me sad, so I'm putting that easy C tier. Next up is Yoda and Luke sitting and watching the Jedi Scrolls burn, which kind of, you know, it sucks to me because the whole point of this movie, which again pisses me off, is that it was like, let the past die. The Jedi were evil. We were evil for going along with it. This is our fault. We did everything wrong. And it is their fault that the Republic fell, to be fair. But saying the Jedi were inherently evil at their core is just not true. Were they corrupt a little bit? Sure. Were they in the hands of the Republic? Sure. But they weren't evil. They were trying to do the right thing. They were keepers of peace. That was their original intent. I think this scene is C tier because I don't like what it did to the prequels. It made fun of them. It was just a spit in the face of everything George Lucas worked on in the prequels. You know, the message isn't entirely bad, but there are more tasteful ways to do it than having Yoda come back, call Force lightning from the sky, because he can do that now apparently, and strike down a tree and destroy the Jedi bucks. Grievous versus Obi-Wan. Grievous versus Obi-Wan is an A tier fight, I think. I think it's really cool. I think it's really well done how they incorporated Grievous's CGI forearms and they had Ewan McGregor actually, you know, make it look like a real duel. It was convincing. I like it a lot. I think it's an A tier duel. Alright, we're getting towards the end now, and we have Anakin Skywalker marching on the Jedi Temple, which I think is an A tier scene. Actually, no, I have to put it next to Order 66, don't I? Because these two scenes are directly linked. The pod racing scene, okay, I'm gonna be honest, boys. The pod racing scene's like C to me. I know how important it is to the plot, but I just hate watching it. I think the CGI pisses me off, and I don't like child actors, so young Anakin pisses me off, even though I acknowledge that, you know, it was a good thing for the movie to do. The whole scene just doesn't make me feel good about myself inside. I don't enjoy watching it. But I understand, actually, you know what? B tier, because I understand the value in it. I just personally, it's not for me. It's not for me. The Geonosis Arena scene, this is like an S tier scene. This is when you fully realize the full power of the Jedi. When all these Jedi appear, like 200 of them with their lightsabers, and they just start popping off on the battlefield. You see so many of them. For a Star Wars nerd like me, it's a total cameo fest, and I freaking love it. And in a similar vein to that, we have the first battle of the Clone Wars. Begun, the Clone Wars have. Oh, that was a good Yoda impression. Anyway, this, I think, is a B tier. I think it was necessary, but at the same time, it's not entirely convincing. The clones all look very CGI, and so do all the spaceships. Alright, next we have Kylo Ren screaming more, and the reason I know he's screaming more is because the guy felt the need to put more underneath it in subtitles, which, I mean, oh, boys, thank goodness he did that. Without that, I was like, oh, maybe Kylo Ren screaming, Cookie Monster hates minorities. I have no idea. But thank goodness he put more underneath there, so now I know for certain. Thank goodness. But this scene's like, I don't know, it's like an A tier scene, I think. I think it's kind of cool. You don't really know how Luke Skywalker's there yet, so I think it's kind of cool to see Kylo Ren confused and desperate to destroy his old master before he gets too powerful. And we don't know that Luke Skywalker's not really there yet, so we think it's actually Luke Skywalker back to save the day. Snoke's death, F tier. Enough said. They killed off the big villain for the sequel trilogy, and it was a total misunderstanding of what they were going to do next from Rian Johnson. Alright, finally, last but not least, we have the Duel of the Fates. And boys, before I rank this, I want you to know that for the entire 51 minutes and 43 minutes I've been filming, I know it'll be edited shorter than that, but right now I have 51 minutes on the clock. I've been nursing a donut this entire video, as you probably saw, and I'm going to finish it right now. W. Anyway, Phantom Menace, S tier. Enough said. Now, boys, you gotta watch this video right here. So I'm still chewing. You gotta watch this video right here. You'll love it. I really like it. I'm proud I made it. I'm glad I made it. Check it out right now. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe.